What is going on, everybody? Bobby Fi here. I'm going to be taking you through this slate for the next 30 minutes. Sheets is at the Knicks game tonight, so Nuggets and Knicks. That's a pretty good one, and yeah, he gets to go see Jokic, so good for him. And I probably am going to get to a little Jokic tonight. We have a very center-heavy slate. We've got a ton of value. We've got things we could go over just everywhere. I do want to encourage everybody to really check out this free trial if you haven't done, or sorry, the 3-day trial if you haven't done it already. If not, I think we have like extremely competitive prices. We're charging a little bit more than SaberSim for all of their content, all of Sheets' projections, Goldie's projections, all of my content. I show all my early builds. I show exactly what exposures I have on every player for everybody who's a site member. And obviously in basketball, that changes up to the minute, but I try to do it as much as I can. And also we do some late swap shows. You also get Brandon Cruz's content, all of Rhodey's. It's a really good package. So I hope you guys would get on, take a look at it. So I have to get that stuff out of the way. With that said, I'm rerunning my stuff here. I've changed a few things. Let's just refresh because I know that things are going to change by the minute. So let's rebuild starting right here. And you can see this is like just what I was getting. It's going to change quite a bit is my guess. Look, there we go again. We do have a number of guys out and whatnot, so it's important to keep that stuff in mind. I'm just going to take a quick look and make sure I'm up to date on Twitter for any new information that comes through. Tatum, Horford, and Hauser are all game time decisions. Well, that's fun. That's really annoying. So that might be some late swap stuff. And again, we have a really good Discord going on, so please check that out if you haven't already as well. All right, let me take a look here at what I've got. I'm just going to try and stay up to date with the NBA stuff. Let me just make sure I've got all my stuff together. All right, sorry, I'm a little bit scrambling. I got a new setup and I'm trying to figure it all out. So I haven't worked through this one entirely just yet. All right, so let's did I rebuild already? Let's rebuild again and then let's run the sim. Because it's going to be up to the minute, like it's changing every few seconds because we're getting lineups in. There's things going on, so we'll get there. TJ always comes in blazing with questions. I don't know why you would pair Scotty and Barrett together. That doesn't seem like it makes a lot of sense on a 9-game slate. It's certainly a good matchup. I like both of them. I don't think that I'm not going to go out of my way to play them together. And I also wouldn't exit out if it wasn't in a high buy-in. I probably wouldn't hand build that way myself. That's what my answer is to that one. Good to see MJ as always. And remember also for all you guys, we're doing these stuff for videos for free. We need you guys to start hitting the like button a lot more. It's getting kind of silly. I mean, we're doing these free videos. We have hundreds of people coming in through it for some of the shows. And we just would appreciate, just click the like, the thumbs up, give us the support. Nobody's charging you for these things, so you may as well just click the like button for us. We'd appreciate it. All right, that's the first run. Let's run the sims and see where we go. I did change some of the projections by hand. I always recommend one of the great things about getting different from even other SaberSim users is using Goldie and Sheets' projections really coming through and for me in golf in general, coming through obviously in the NFL. But I like to, and you can average them out between SaberSim, Goldie, and Sheets if you want to do that. It will be a way of differentiating your builds. And I always obviously go back and hand build as well as hand edit certain lineups of mine. But I try to update our members as often as I can with all that stuff. All right, so this is where I'm at with based on the changes that I made so far. We have Tatum already hit a bunch, but that's pretty big news. So what I'm going to do is let's see from the early games what we want to do. I think we should get some pieces from Indiana with the guys who are out. Sheets is out tonight, so no projections by Sheets tonight. Goldies are up there though. Yeah, Sheets he can't do it while he's at the game. So yeah, we're and that happens sometimes. Look, we also have days off. It happens. We have SaberSim and Goldie to get you covered. But again, with basketball, it's so up to the minute. I would rely on SaberSim just because it's got the most power to do that. Goldie will do his best to update everything after lock. He does a great job, but it's hard to get everything together. So you can see I'm getting a little bit of Detroit. I'm not like going out of my way. I think that I might do a little thing here with just adding a few points to Cade Cunningham because he was one that I was a little bit interested in getting more of than the field's giving me. The Sims are giving me. I also obviously really like McConnell. I'm not going to change that much. Obi Toppin projecting well with no Matherin. He should get some more runs tonight. And then I like this Halliburton. I think I'm actually going to bump just a tiny bit, just a little touch. I like the idea of getting a little bit of Halliburton running back with Cade on the other side. I could see this one getting a little wild. So let's put a little bit more on Halliburton. I'm going to go to and again, I encourage for basketball. I don't mind the min exposures because you don't mind leaving money on the table in golf. And, you don't want to leave like 5,000, but you know what I'm saying? Like you can leave a couple thousand in golf and it's pretty much fine. I prefer doing the projections and editing to what I think they're closer to. And a lot of that's feel, a lot of that's having experience, and a lot of it also is just wanting to get different things. And we'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. Leaving Obi's right here. It's a little, maybe a little ambitious. He's hit or miss, but it's a good matchup. They obviously play at a good pace. So you can see I'm sort of sprinkled out through the early games here. I don't really want to get to a ton of this game, so I'm kind of happy not to. But what I was going to say is the one guy I have interest in getting exposure to is one D'Angelo Russell. So I'm just going to bump this up, see if I can get to a little bit of them. Don't want to go crazy with it. Just want to get a little bit. And mostly I'm going to bump up these 4:30 or later guys because that's where you're really going to have some edge if those Celtics are out and whatever other later news we got. We have Kobe White limited to around 25 to 28 minutes tonight. That just came in. Not a surprise there. All right, so we're going to keep going here through these games. All right, like this is look, the Okogie, when he doesn't end up starting, his projections might drop a little bit. I still think it's fine. I don't think that I need to have him as a core play anymore. I'm going to save that and take him off because I think there are just enough other good plays where I don't need to have maybe this much of them. And I'm actually going to lower some of the earlier games projections just a tiny bit. We're still going to get to a good amount of them. We're going to lower it to 27. Musa will leave at 20. 28's fine probably, but just make it 28 even. Still obviously a great projection. You have Bridges and Smith, which both make a lot of sense to me, so I'm not going to mess with them at all. And then let's just take a quick look and see if there's anybody else we're missing. I think Daquan Jeffries is kind of interesting as a tournament dart. So I'm going to make this projection a little bit higher. I don't want to get a ton of them. Maybe let's make it even 8. 18 is getting a little bit frisky. I think it's realistic, though. I actually think he might end up playing more tonight than people think. Early in the day, yeah, I think I like that a little bit. But again, I would rather do it for the later games. Whatever. We have the earlier games. That's what it is. Chris Boucher getting a ton of versus the field. I have a feeling because that ownership might be a little bit off with the bodies out, with Dick out, and obviously no Olynyk, obviously no Quickly. It feels also like a little bit of an ambitious projection. I'm going to lower it a little bit for what it's worth. Not a ton. It's still going to look like an okay play, but he is forward eligible, which is nice because, as I mentioned, it's going to be double centers a lot for me tonight. Jamal Sneed getting a reasonable projection. I don't really need to go crazy with this. I actually, look, he's fine, but I'm happy just to leave this one at 18 and drop it just a tiny bit so I can get to potential late game exposure that I'm not currently getting to. I think Bruce Brown's an interesting tournament dart, but I just think it's probably the wrong slate for me to do it. So I'm probably not going to do it here. Joe Val, I'm fine with this. Like, I think he's going to get there most of the time, but there's just a lot of guys who are. And, look, he's a good play at 34 fantasy points also. I don't mind dropping him just a tiny bit because there is a range of outcomes for him. I actually think I was thinking earlier about getting a little frisky with Holmes. It's just so many centers. Hard for me to get there. Feel like the projections are always a little ambitious on Poole. Not changing much, but it's going to be enough to make a little bit of a difference. You guys just wait and see. Let me go back to real quick to Toronto. Why wasn't I getting more of the plays I liked earlier? I do like the Barnes. I don't know why. Did I lower Barnes? That was my mistake. I like Barnes here, and I actually think that I could argue for going maybe even a little bit overweight that. You know what? What if we gave him an even 50? I wonder what our lineups would look like. I just don't love that it's the earlier game, but I think it's such a premium matchup. It feels like we should be playing one of he or Barrett. Let's make it a little bit more ambitious here. Let's go 42. I did want to lower from these games, but sometimes you can't get everything you want. And I'm going to make this 50 and see where it leaves us. And I'm going to go through all the games, and I'm going to go, continue to edit and all that stuff. And I'm going to have to, probably change some of these things if anybody's announced out. But just going through these games for right now. Pop in any questions. I'll get to them when I can. Let's see if there's anything in there. It doesn't look like there is at the moment. All right, so we've got basically almost nothing from Sacramento, which I'm fine with. If I ended up with any of this stuff, it's not a problem. It's fine. It is whatever. Because you get that extra half hour, maybe I bump up 41.8 to 42 if it makes any difference. I think you could make a case for bumping Sabonis. I just think there's too many centers, so I don't really want to try and go out of my way to get him. That's pretty much the only one I would take is the Fox, or you could certainly argue for DeRozan at this price. It's pretty cheap. I'll make that 35 just to give myself potentially more exposure. And I want to try and bump. The general idea is try and bump down the early games, try and bump up the later games, just because it gives you more advantage in the late swapping when there's news we already know we're going to need, like the Celtics news is obviously very big. I am not fond of this. Why can't Maxey do it again? I think this projection might be a little bit low, and I think he would have had like 75 the other day, and this is a great matchup. Let's bump Maxey up a little bit. Kelly Oubre is another one. Think we could bump him up a little bit. They're missing bodies, remember, and Yabusele was pretty good last night. These all feel a little low. I still don't think I'm going to end up getting to a ton of it, but I just think they feel a little bit too low. We'll just increase it a little bit there. Justin Edwards, my Ricky Council contrarian worked for me last night. Got me sixth. I finished sixth in the alley-oop. I had a chance to win it. If Almond Thompson had any kind of a game, I win it, running away, but he just didn't. And I think this projection is a little low on it. I think this whole team is being under projected a little bit tonight on the back-to-back. And I'm going to go ahead and do something and make a big difference. I don't think I'm tempted to go back to the council, and I actually think there's a chance he may start. I don't know. I don't think they'll start. Maybe they won't start him, but I think he'll get off the bench sooner. He looked really, really good last night. He's looked really good lately in general, just like in eye test wise. All right, let's move over to Cleveland and Miami. It's tempting. You know what? I don't think I'm going to end up with any of it anyway, but I'm going to just, for arguments, for F's sake, it just feels weird to me. I know it was a small slate last night, but Philadelphia against Sacramento, like with like all of these guys out, I just feel like maybe we just bump everybody up just a little bit. I just feel like you kind of feel like somebody's gonna do something here. Bona, not the right slate. Jackson, no, we're not going that crazy, but all of these guys I just bumped up a little bit to hopefully get a little more exposure. Obviously, things will change with the Celtics news and all that. So let's refresh, and then we'll keep going. Ty Jerome, going to be a hard one to ignore. I think the projection is probably accurate. I still kind of want to downgrade it a little bit just because it's so popular, but it's really hard to do, to be honest with you. Donovan Mitchell, I like that I'm getting over the field on him. I feel like the projections are actually a tiny bit low for his upside. I think Max Strus on different slates I'd be talking about here. I think Evan Mobley on different slates I'd be talking about here. I think Jared Allen, I'd be talking about him on different slates, just not really, going crazy with any of that stuff. Not obviously the greatest matchup. I like that. I'm going to make sure I don't lose the Mitchell, so I just bump him up a little bit. Let's make it 44. That feels better. Again, no Garland. We got to. It feels like these guys are being underaccounted for, the guys who are out tonight, and I'd like to be ahead of these kind of things in general. We like that Bam has the power forward availability. We're going to give him 41. Khalil Ware is just one of many centers that is a good play. There's just a lot of guys who fit this similar category. And I do believe in Hero's upside in this kind of matchup. He's got certainly got a massive ceiling. We'll bump him up a little bit, not much. All right. We're going to go through thoughts on McConnell. Yeah, as I mentioned earlier with McConnell, I'm getting to 50% of them right now. I don't think that you have to do it because there's so much other value, but I am currently at 50%. We'll see what happens when I rerun these builds before I get out of here. And we'll talk a little FanDuel as well. Tatum and Horford and Hauser are all out. Who's the other one you said? Oh my God. So yeah, we're going to, oh, and thanks MJ. All right. So we'll have to rerun things, but we're going to have to, we're not going to touch the Celtics game until we get some updated projections. Let's do this so we don't forget. Okay. All right. Denver and New York. I'm going to force in this Jokic. I put a big projection on Jokic tonight, or a bigger projection than they had. Actually, it was 60 earlier. Now it's 65. So that's kind of interesting. I would like to get to Jokic on this slate. There's just plenty of value. Let's do the thing and just play the Jokic in Madison Square Garden. I also think Russ is going to have a nice night tonight. I don't want to go crazy with it. Just going to bump him up a little bit. I think Jamal Murray was a little under projected. 37 feels okay to me. Good with all this. Jamal Murray, it's like you play the heat check guy in Madison Square Garden, right? Like if he gets hot, he's going to keep going, especially in the Garden. It's just we see it all the time. I'm not changing anything. I also think that Towns on the other side of this game is interesting against Jokic. So just going to bump him up a little bit. But again, center's loaded. We know it's loaded, so we can't go crazy with it. Moving over to not the Chicago-Boston game, we'll talk about Chicago really quickly. I would like to bump up. I did already bump up Lonzo's projection a decent amount to make sure I get some of them. Kobe White coming back in the mix with no Levine. I still feel like it. You feel like with no Levine, it's probably a bigger deal than without no Kobe White. Is there a way that maybe it's just Giddey's price? Kobe White's going to play 25 to 28. I think this is the Lonzo. I think we bump it up even a tiny bit more. I'm not going to miss when Lonzo hits his game. That's my rule. I'm not going to let it happen. And I would like a run back for some of these Celtics. I'm not going to force anything with Vucevic, even though I like him in this matchup. I would rather try and get, you know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to see if I get to any Giddey if I make him 37. We'll rerun these once we get the updated Boston projections. Wait, Tatum is in. Oh, Tatum is in. My fault. Thank you so much. I misread that. So it's just Horford and Hauser, which is actually going to still make a difference. But Tatum being out obviously would have been a very different slate. So I appreciate that. I bumped up Kawhi's projection here. We've got him still at what, 28 minutes, I believe, 28.84. So almost 29 minutes. If we think he can play 28 to 32 in a tight game against his former team, I'm kind of cool with taking a shot here. Maybe I make it even 35, just a little difference. Let's try and get a little bit more exposure to what I want. And obviously for my my big buy-ins, I'm going to handle at the end of this. I don't think I'm going to get to Kawhi in those, but I would like to be over the 0% ownership of the field, and I will make the projections different if I have to get there. I don't mind Harden in this matchup at all. Kawhi being there obviously doesn't make it great, but not upset with getting to Harden, and also not going out of my way not to get him. Norman Powell's the one that's interesting that I'm not, projection is pretty hefty considering that Kawhi is getting the minutes, but he's been fantastic all year. It actually, on a different slate, I would talk about some Zubac because he's just much bigger than Wemby is. Like Wemby's so tall, but he's just much bigger. I'm in on just taking shots on Wemby. This is not the ideal matchup. I just think that he's going to be 12K before you know it. His ceiling is only eclipsed by Jokic, and he is significantly cheaper. So we will just keep rolling with a little bit of Wemby. And then we're going to go back over here to Dallas and New Orleans to close out the DraftKings side of things. And then we'll go over to FanDuel. Then we'll talk about the Boston game afterwards and what we run in our last build. Or not our last build, our last build till we have the other one. And MJ, I appreciate everything getting updated. It's really helpful. All right. I bumped up the projection on PJ Washington because look, what do we see every night, guys? Every night it's PJ Washington. It seems like it's like he's going off, about to go off. The game gets turned into blowouts. Sometimes it doesn't go as far off as he could. But these projections without Luka, he's really stepped up and done quite a bit. So I like that for him. I like getting the little bit over on Kyrie. We're going to bump that one up a tiny bit. Gafford on another slate, I would be into playing even at 7,400. I just can't bring myself to try and go out of my way to do anything with him because there's just, as I mentioned, loaded center options tonight. What to do with Zion? This is one that I struggled with because I thought he was going to be an interesting low-owned play, and he is. I need the minutes, and I just don't think I can do it. But he's going to put up 60 one day soon, and we're going to be like, oh, why didn't we play Zion? I just know it's going to happen. It is what it is, but that's the reality. All right, so I'm just going to cover the two games that I didn't talk about otherwise on FanDuel. And those would be the Clippers in San Antonio. I'm sorry. No, same slate. I forgot they didn't include the late games. Okay, never mind. Same slate. Let's see what's different let's rebuild here. And now that we see what the Boston news is, it's not going to be as big. I'm going to take a quick look at who we have projected to get more minutes. Let me just take a quick look here. Where is why am I missing? I'm missing like a screen. Huh. Okay, well, let me find my lineups page and bear with me just a second. Let's see, because so what happened? We already had this the other night with Al Horford. I don't think it's going to make much of a difference, to be honest with you. But there's probably other news coming later that probably will make a difference. Let's see if it would make any sort of and we'll take a look when they update the projections. But you have the natural starting five back with Derek White, even without Horford the other night. Cornette got some run and played well, but I don't think we would want to go to him on this slate at center only eligible. I think Peyton Pritchard maybe gets a little bit of a boost up. I don't think that's going to make enough of a difference for me. So I am going to I just rebuilt, right? So let's run the Sims. Let's rebuild again, just for fun, just in case they change something I don't expect. I don't think the Boston thing is now all that relevant. I don't think you need to force in the Lonzo play like I did, but I do like it, and I did bump Jokic's projection over here a bunch, just because I don't know. It's hard for me to give him a 60 median projection in a game that's a 2.5 point spread. Like I just don't think that's the median outcome. It's just not. Like he averages 68. I know it's different sites, so it's a little different on FanDuel, but it's not like the Knicks have played slow this year. That game's got now it's down to 241.5. I did put in my bets of the day for those of you guys who are site members earlier, that 242.5 take the under. Now it's 241.5. So perhaps some money line value. Of course, the last time I said that was the Lakers beating Philadelphia, which did not go as I was planning. Put it that way. That's what you get without the Sims. Let's run the Sims here. For what it's worth, I am playing. We'll just go to. Let me just do this real quick. It's gonna get weird. Just playing the 150 in the lottery, the $4, and then the 6 in the 150. The 150 to 100K to first. All right, let's see what we're going to get on FanDuel. And because I made less changes on FanDuel, my min destination ROI is going to be much higher over here than it is on DraftKings, for what it's worth. Give me a second. Just making sure that any of this news. Al Horford's out. Yep, we know that. We know Horford and Hauser are out. I don't think it's going to make a big difference. I think starting lineups will make a bigger difference, if anything, than other starting lineups, not that game, obviously. All right, so you can see running it. Let's see what we can do by changing the min uniques here. Let's see if we can get something spreading out a little bit. I feel like there is an argument for coming off maybe not quite as much of this Ty Jerome with how many plays there are in the slate, but it's kind of interesting. So running a pretty pure build here. This Kaishan George, man, I don't know. I don't know about this one. I don't think we need to do this. I'm going to bump his projection down. Again, not making as many changes over here. Oh, we're going to be able to refresh. Let's make this like 21. I just think I like him. I believe in the future, but when you're betting on these kids as chalk, it's really tricky because like they're just going to have like those like 0 fantasy point games basically. He's also an earlier game. He's put up 6.5, 16, and 11.5 in his last 3 games. He's been playing minutes. I don't think this Kaishan George is for me. In fact, I'm going to make this number even lower. Let's just make it 20 and see if we still get any of it. I'm curious what those projections updated. We'll just check the value, see if anything else stands out massively. Diabate, obviously a lot of center strength. Look at this. And where did I end up with on Jokic after changing his projection? 32%. Okay, that's good. I feel good about having a good percentage of Jokic tonight. All right, so we're changing Kaishan George a little lower because we don't like our ownership on him. Let's look at our other exposure. And this is another way of doing it using our, the tools. And I'm not using Goldie and Sheets' projections tonight because Sheets is out. And Goldie, again, it's harder in basketball. I look exclusively in golf, which is a whole separate story. I didn't do a video for golf today. I did post everything that I'm doing in our Discord. Check that out if you're a site member. And I mean, I posted it all on the site as well, but it's in our Discord. So I bumped down this Kaishan George. We're going to get less of that. I'm still interested. I like the upside of Boucher. I think that we're going a little aggressive on this projection. Let's bump down that one a little bit. It's one that could get there, though. It's one of those that could be like the big one. We have TJ at 25.9. It could be a little higher, maybe. Getting to a good amount of Wemby because he's got the forward eligibility. Let's make Wemby 57. Let's make it, you know what? F it. Let's make Wemby 58. I would like to get some Wemby Jokic lines in my builds. I like the Halliburton quite a bit here. We're going to run that. And then we are going to also want to get a tiny bit of Mr. Cade. Maybe not even a tiny bit. Let's go 48 here. All right. I'm going to rebuild and shuffle over here, and then we are going to check and see where we're at. And then I am going to get out of here, finish my builds, make sure I'm up to date with the news. I will update everybody my exact exposures by the time things run, because remember, I change things by hand, and I'm going to edit things after we do this. We don't want to give away all of our content for free. We're giving away too much as it is. So this is what I'm doing. All right. Tatum, the only one. Okay. Hey, everyone, would you play Wemby versus Clippers or spend up for Jokic? I like both a ton. I think we pretty much cleared that up. I'm playing them together. I'm trying. In one of my big buy-ins on FanDuel, if there's one thing I can promise you, I will have a Wemby Jokic lineup or two, because I also added a bunch of I upped their projection quite a bit. And I could argue that Wemby might be the better play on FanDuel, factoring in how many centers we have today. And obviously the shot blocking upside is a massive one. So with the changes I made, let's see if we affected our midnight destination ROI too much. We might have improved it, because look, we're not going to get that Kaishan George nonsense. Look, even if he gets there, I don't care. I just don't think we need to be the ones who are doing it. I got 4% of them now. That sounds good to me. Fine, leave my 4%. 1% now. Okay, after the Sims. Ty Jerome, this is a higher one than I want to go to. If we lower him down to 30, will it change it? Let's try. It's still tough to argue against. I get it. I get what they're doing, and I like that I'm getting all this Wemby, even in a bad matchup. I just think the ceiling is there's going to be that quadruple double coming at some point. We don't know when it's going to happen, but it's going to happen at some point. Maybe this is even a little bit aggressive. We'll make it 57, just make it a little bit less. And we got the Hallie going a little bit. Yeah, getting okay. So I'm feeling better about it. I would like to it's hard because he's been so good, but I don't know. Like, let's just see what happens. Let me take a quick look and see what happens if we don't have. I'm just trying to think of any way that Ty Jerome is going to look a lot worse to everybody. I mean, I guess if he doesn't start, I don't think he has to get there. Let's bump him down. Let's bump him down. Let's bump him down a tiny bit. We'll just make it so it's a little bit different. And I'm going to probably do a similar thing. Now, he's probably going to end up in the majority of my high buy-ins, but I don't think we need like 150 million%. So let's rebuild and run the sim. That's what I'm going to do over there. And probably going to get out of here soon. So pop in any questions now. Is Daquan Jeffries a Musa pivot? Yes, I do like that play. That's a good call, Jimmy. And that is a pivot because I like that call, especially. Again, I'm still figuring out my new setup. My camera's not up yet, so bear with me for the next couple days. But I'm just looking at the side of my face. It looks really weird. But Daquan Jeffries is a legit pivot. I like that pivot a lot. And I think it's on a different slate. Like last night's slate, I'd be all over it. It's just harder to justify on this big of a slate. But it is the right idea. I like the way you're thinking. Mikal Bridges and Josh Hart together with Jokic. Nothing I'm trying to do. Certainly don't. Nothing. I mean, I like Cat the best from the Knicks. I'm not trying to get it. If I ended up with some of the Hart and some of the Bridges, I wouldn't mind it. It is hard. I feel like with the Knicks, it does feel often like a guessing game, just on whose night it's going to be. Outside of the Cat, man. What is Cat's price now over here? He must be. There's just so many centers, huh? I think Cat has upside in this game too. We'll make it 50, whatever. It's not going to make. I don't think it's going to get you much of them anyway. No, it's not. Let's run this. Let's apply and then run. Yeah. And then we will go back to all and see where we're at. All right. We're still running the sim, so we'll see where it goes to. See, Ty Jerome down. Okay, then we have a little too much Nick Richards, in my opinion. I'm sorry, too much Nick Smith. So we're going to bump his projection down a little bit. Just a little bit. And can we get off of some of these plays? Like, I don't want to have – I just don't think that these are like locks, and they're being treated as locks on a slate that's got so much to offer. So let's get a little bit less of it. Let's go a little bit bolder. It's not that they're bad plays. Don't get me wrong. It just, there's so many other ways to get optimal, in my opinion. So I'm going to rebuild this one more time. And I'd like to see 60 or less. Not quite there. Let's see where we're at in just a minute. And then I am going to go and update our people in Discord once I get my stuff. But I think this is, you sort of get the idea of what I'm saying to do, right? Like, I really think that tweaking these projections to get what you want makes a little more sense. Now, there are other ways to do it too. You could change the game score. You could change the minutes. This is what I'm rolling with, and we'll see how it goes. That's the best I can put it. Would it shock any of us if Ricky Council outscored the two guys who are just getting all of the ownership? I don't think it would. I really don't. So we're going to run the sim. It's still going to give me, like, don't get me wrong, I'm okay with the 60. I just don't think it's a lock that these guys are going to go. I mean, I really don't think that it is. So we'll see, I guess. And I don't think that the changing a couple points is going to necessarily change everything, but I think it'll change enough for us. Yeah. Okay. Now we're talking. And Nick Smith dropped down. Yeah, this is more. This is more stomachable. Now, don't get me wrong; these are still good plays, but we don't absolutely have to do it. Maybe I'm a little high on a Kogi. That's when I'm. Oh yeah, I'm going to bring down my projection on the Kogi a little bit. Let's go 28. 28.5. That feels a little bit better. And then the Musa, I just don't think you have to play him on FanDuel. Again, I like the Jokic Wemby builds, and I'm not getting quite as much Jokic anymore, and that's a little disappointing. So I'm gonna have to make some other concessions because I dropped the other value. That's why I got less of them. Anyway, you see what happened, and Wemby getting a good amount. But I'm going even bolder with Jokic. Okay, I'm just making sure I get to some of them. That's what I'm going to force in, and that's pretty much where I'm at. So any other questions, guys, before I do get out of here? Najee Marshall is officially in. Slight downgrade to PJ Washington, but still I like the PJ Washington play. All right, I think we're going to get out of here. So remember, hit the like button on the way out. If you guys don't hit the like button, I'm just going to tell you, there's going to be a day you show up and we just don't doing our shows anymore. I know you guys appreciate it. Like we answer every single question, every single person. And for some reason, the YouTube is not giving us credit for. They say 28 people in here. I'm looking at 64. So I don't know why it's saying that. Anyway, guys, I'm going to get out of here. Good luck to everyone tonight. And I will update the site members very shortly with what I end up doing.